Hey everybody, it's Mr. Delusive here. I'm just doing a quick video on the 7 Days to Survive mod, all my performance settings, the frames I get, and what my computer system is, and everything like that. I was going to do a spotlight, but I'm going to leave that until after Alpha 15, and I put everything in the mod that I wanted to put in. So this is just going to be a quick one to show all that. Now, before I started recording this, I was getting 46 frames per second. When I started, it's gone down to 30 because I've limited it to 30. Another thing I noticed when I'm looking this way, it was 46. When it was up here, when I was looking over here, where there's no trees, it went to over 60 frames per second. So it would, one of the biggest hits at the moment then would be the trees here. Obviously, because I'm spawning more, it's probably going to compound those. If there was issues in the core game, there'd be a lot more to do with the trees. Now, my computer, I have an i5-4590 CPU. I have 16 gig of RAM and a GTX 750 Ti. So, I don't know where you'd put that. I'd classify it as mid-range. But yeah, all the settings I have here is exactly the same as I had it in the core game, and I haven't noticed any FPS differences between the mod and the core game. And I also, before this, had a play around with the settings, and we'll go through that. So at the moment I've got VSync on, anti-aliasing on, texture quality is full. I read that was supposed to be a performance increase. It made no change for me, and it wasn't a decrease, so that was good. I got reflection quality off, water quality low, field of view 76, shouldn't matter, view distance is set at 7, level of detail is 25%. I don't have shadows on, and that was a decent hit for me in performance. Tree quality is middle, which could be another thing, because as I said before, it was like 60 when we weren't looking at trees, and went down to 46 when I was looking at trees. So that could be another thing. Grass distance near, motion blur is off, SSAO, depth of field and sun shafts are all off for me, and this is just the UI stuff. So with that, I'm getting around 46, and then it goes down in sections. Here we go. This could be another thing that I was thinking, is when the entities do this, they could possibly be trying to repath every second or so, and I know pathing causes lag in games, and especially when things get stuck and they're continuously recalculating paths, that could be another issue. And I've got 10 entities spawning per area kind of thing, so that was a little bit higher. Even though there's no zombies and that, I've put the animals higher, so there's 10 animals per section. So yeah, that could be another issue. And I do get the freezes for 1 to 2 seconds as well. A few times it's crashed for me. I haven't figured out what causes that. Hopefully, I'm thinking after Alpha 15 that if it still does it, I'll try and figure it out then. But yeah, the only other thing I can think of is the amount of things getting spawned. So because that happened really bad when I was doing this and flying around. So maybe because I've got everything spawning higher, it doesn't like that. So I mean, that's after Alpha 15. If it's still bad, I'll be reducing that anyway, the blocks spawning. So with that, it's running smooth, pretty smooth for me on this rig, but I don't have shadows, I don't have anything set too high, and what I noticed was the shadows caused a decent hit on my performance as well. Which makes sense because all these blocks have complex shadows. and because there's so many of them, it's probably that's going to be a big hit. All the trees and that, and I'll set it. I'll show you now. I'll just get out of it because it was crashing. So what I did was I set this to high, shadows to high. I turned sun shafts on, and this one, which makes the shadows even more higher quality. It still crashes for me anyway. So this is with all those settings now, and I think it goes down to 26. I will check it out. So yeah, right now it's sitting on 26, 24. It's going down a bit. So it looks so much better with the shadows, but like I wasn't running this first time with the shadows was the first time I've ever run shadows in this game. And it was when I look down, it's 30. So when I'm looking that way, that's 22 frames there, 24, 25. So yeah, it's been a big hit running it with shadows for me. And yeah, like I said, I mean that makes sense because all these have fairly complex shadows to render. So if I don't know, like if you just want to run it without shadows, it doesn't look as beautiful, but that for me worked, or was working anyway. Other than that, I'm going to be trying to optimize anyway, and I'll be reducing that the plant count if it's too bad. I mean, I really wanted to even increase the tree count and everything because I wanted it like a real forest, you know, really thick and everything. But obviously, if I can't do it, I'm not gonna. And I thought this would have been a compromise, like, but if it's still a problem, I'll have to reduce it. So yeah, that's all I can suggest, and that was my settings anyway. They were without shadows on and reflection quality. Without this on, there was not much of a difference. Without reflections, there wasn't much of a difference. It was mainly this shadows distance that affected my performance here. So I don't know, try for you guys without shadows, see what it does, and let me know. Otherwise, yeah, the only other things I can think of is maybe view distance, tree quality, and maybe a little bit reflection quality. Could be this as well. I haven't tried it with this. That could be another thing. But yeah. So just let me know. So the other thing I wanted to go through in the video was just what I have planned after Alpha 15 to put in to the mod. So I want to add the Industrial Age, which will bring in all the steel stuff, and steel will be made in a blast furnace. So what will happen is to make steel you'll need iron and carbon will be gathered in the refinery. You just refine charcoal into carbon, and then you combine that in the blast furnace to make your steel, and that'll introduce Industrial Age. You'll have all the steel blocks again, and if you have noticed, there's no upgrading blocks in this mod. It's all you just craft the block or the frame, and they're the only ones that get upgraded, the frames into the actual block. And that's, I've put it that way, gives more relevance to learning the professions for each, you know, like the kiln, you'll have to learn clay making to make clay style blocks instead of just upgrading certain blocks or kind of thing. You know, and instead of crafting an iron block and then upgrading it to steel, or it goes concrete to steel, you know, or whatever. It just, you make that block directly in the mod. So yeah, industrial age will introduce steel. Then as well, I'll bring in the blunderbuss. Probably a duplicate version of the rifle, which is more relevant to the industrial age. And after all that, then the electrical age, which will introduce electricity. And industrial age will have oil as a fuel source. Probably some more machinery in that age as well. But yeah, everything in that will rely on oil, and except the guns, obviously, which will have bullets and stuff. And yeah, the electrical age will introduce electricity as a fuel source, so all the factories and stuff will use electricity in the electrical age. That'll bring back the concrete stuff as well, so steel will obviously be made weaker than concrete. But yeah, and either I'll bring back the auger and chainsaw in the industrial age and have them keep relying on oil, or I'll bring them in the electrical age and have them rely on electricity. But yeah, there'll be a heap of new machinery and everything like that. But that'll as well have all the electrical blocks, so your lighting and stuff, and that'll need wiring, which will probably be based on tin. So the way I've set up the metals as well in at the moment is there's no random world gen of metals, it's just the stone, and then in the refinery you put the stone in and turn it into iron. So that, having it that way, I can introduce a lot more metals into the mod and have it work the same way, you know. So you could say, 10 stone can turn into 1 iron, or 10 stone can turn into 1 tin, or something like that, and it's all handled in the refinery, instead of adding all these new metals into the random world gen. And because I don't know anything about how to make the 3D models, you know, all the new 3D models and new blocks and everything, so I've just handed it all in the refinery. Yeah, that'll introduce, I can make tin, put the copper back in, maybe make bronze, what else, yeah, any other metals. But yeah, so the one thing I was thinking though to put in the random world gen is fossils. So the fossils you can either break down into bones, or when you mine them it has a chance of giving you probably a fossil item which can be used for a quest, and have that work the same way as the gold, silver and clay quests, except you go underground to find them. So the prefabs in there now at the moment are pretty basic, so I want to add more prefabs and make them really well designed. I'll really try to make them well designed. And I will be adding day 7 spawns to give a bit of difficulty. Most likely though they'll be all animals, because I know I'll be adding different entity types for the animals, probably angry deer, like I already know angry deer, because that was one request. Probably bring bears back, dogs. There's already one prefab that spawns 2 dogs, but I'll probably weaken them a bit. And yeah, so that's all the plans I have for the mod at the moment. By final version I want all that in there to give enough to do, and bring probably more blocks into the stone and iron ages. But other than that, that's the plan. If anyone as well makes any suggestions on Reddit, I want to bring in stuff that people want. People want to have fun with. So just let me know what you think, and yeah. So that's all I wanted to talk about in the video for now. After I've added it all, then I'll do a full spotlight. So thanks for watching, and I hope yeah, the settings have been helpful and everything. So see you guys.